In this video, I'm simply going to design and provide you with the solid understanding of polynomials and the essential skills of factoring. Let's assume we are given this kind of problem. It asks us to factor the polynomial x to the power of 2 plus 5x plus 6. The next one on the list is x to the power of 3 minus 8, x to the power of 4 negative 16, 2x to the power of 2 plus 5x negative 3, 4x to the power of 2 negative 9. How can we solve this problem? Starting with the first one, which says x to the power of 2 plus 5x plus 6. Now, how can we solve this problem? For us to solve this problem, first thing we need to do is to factor the quadratic polynomial. In this case, we need to find two numbers that when we multiply those numbers, it's simply going to give us 6. And if we add those numbers, it's simply going to give us 5. What are those numbers? Numbers that if you multiply both of them is going to give us 6 is 2 multiplied by 3, which is simply going to be 6. And if you say 2 plus 3, this is simply going to be 5. So, in this case, next thing we need to do, those two numbers, which is 2 and 3, next thing we need to do is to factor factored form of the polynomial. That is what we are going to arrange now. Notice that if you have x to the power of 2, this is the same thing as writing x, meaning we have 2x in two places. We said our number is 2 and 3. We are going to arrange everything in factor form. X to the power of 2 is going to be x, and here we're going to have positive 2, and here we're going to have positive 3. And this is it for the first problem. What about the second one? The second problem also asks us to factor the polynomial given x to the power of 3 negative 8. In this case, if we are given this kind of problem, this is in cube form, which can be factored using the formula. If it is in cube form, you can use this formula, which is a to the power of 3 minus b to the power of 3, which is equals to a minus b into bracket of a square plus ab plus b to the power of 2. Alright, in this case, here we have x, and the problem we are given is x to the power of 3 negative 8. Therefore, our a to the power of 3 is simply going to be x to the power of 3. And our b to the power of 3 is simply going to be 8. Then we are going to substitute everything into the values. If a is equals to x to the power of 3, what about a, which is single, without any square root? If a to the power of 3 is x to the power of 3, therefore a is simply going to be x. If b to the power of 3 is equals to 8, b to the power of 3 is equals to 8, what about just b single? B without any power is simply going to be 2, because 2 to the power of 3 is the same thing as saying 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 into 3 places, which is equals to 8. So we're going to substitute all our values into this formula. In this case, we can set x to the power of 3 minus 8. This is simply going to be x minus 2 into bracket of x to the power of 2 plus 2x plus 4. The reason why I'm writing that, I'm sure I've explained that. If b to the power of 3 is equals to 8, that is, I'm talking about the last one, then b to the power of 2 is simply going to be 4, because 4 to the power of 2 is equals to 8, which is the same thing as say 4 multiplied by 2, or 4 into 2 places. So this is it for the second problem. Third problem says we shall factor x to the power of 4 negative 16, which is the third one. In this case, it is also like it is more like similar to the previous one, but little differences. Polynomial is a differences of squares. We can use the formula in this case, which is a to the power of 4 this time around instead of power of 3, minus b to the power of 4. This is simply going to be bracket of a to the power of 2 negative b to the power of 2 into bracket of a to the power of 2 plus b to the power of 2. Don't worry, this is just the formula. So next thing we need to do is to apply the formula here. Remember, we said our equation is what? X to the power of 4 negative 16. In this case, we can set our a is simply going to be x to the power of 4. That is a to the power of 4 is what? X to the power of 4. And b to the power of 4 is simply going to be 16. Then we substitute our values. If a to the power of 4 is equals to x to the power of 4, this is simply going to be x to the power of 4 minus 16, which is equals to the bracket of next thing what is a to the power of 2. A to the power of 2 in this case is the same thing as what? X to the power of 2. Since x to the power of 4 is a to the power of 4. In this case, we are going to have x to the power of 2 minus 4 into bracket of x to the power of 2 is going to be plus 4. Because b to the power of 4 is 16, b to the power of 2 is 4. 4 to the power of 2 is simply going to be 16. So this is it for the third problem. Next thing we have here is to factor the polynomial, which we are given 2x to the power of 2 plus 5x negative 3. How can we solve this problem? In this case, we are simply going to factor the quadratic polynomial, right? First thing we need to do is to find the numbers that if we multiply, it's simply going to give us, let's say, if we multiply, we're going to have 2 multiplied by negative 3. We should make sure that it's going to be negative 6. No, not negative 6, actually negative 3. But if we have negative 6, it's okay. Because if we add these two numbers, it's simply going to give us positive 5. Let's say we have 2 plus 3. It's simply going to provide us with positive 5. So in this case, we can say those numbers are what? 6 and negative 1. 6 and negative 1. Because 6 multiplied by negative 1 is simply going to be negative 6. So the next thing we need to do is to factor the polynomial. In this case, we're going to have 2x to the power of 2 plus 5x negative 3, which will give us 2x to the power of 2 is the same thing as writing 2x minus 1, that's this, into bracket of x plus 3. Because 2x or 2 multiplied by 3 is simply going to be 6. 6 multiplied by negative 1 is simply going to be negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2 is simply going to be negative 3. And this is it for this problem. The last one, which says we shall factor the polynomial, which is 4x to the power of 2 negative 9. How can we solve this problem? Feel free to pause the video and try it yourself. Alright, this polynomial is difference of square. We are also going to be using this formula, a to the power of 2 negative b to the power of 2. This is simply going to be the bracket of a plus b into bracket of a minus b. In this case, remember our question which we are given here is 4x to the power of 2 negative 9. Therefore, we can say our a is simply going to be 4x to the power of 2, that is a square, and b square is simply going to be negative 9. So we can substitute our values into the equation here, or into the formula. So here we're going to have 4x to the power of 2 negative 9. I'm substituting this into this negative 9. This is simply going to be a. If a to the power of 2 is 4x to the power of 2, then a alone without any square root is simply going to be 2x plus b to the power of 2 is equals to negative 9. Then b without the power root or square root is simply going to be 3. Into bracket of just a, as we mentioned, this is simply going to be 2x negative 3. And this is it for this problem. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video or you find it helpful, don't forget to please like my video, share, and also subscribe.